Hey, we are back on the Visionary Mindset podcast. This is episode 12, and today we are here with Corey McKinney with the McKinney Group, and we are going to learn more about his life story, his journey into real estate, his family. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about where you grew up and your journey and how you got into the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me. Happy to be here and share. I grew up in Southern California in a city called Torrance, heavily involved with family, and I went to a private school, and K through 8, it was kind of the same exact thing over and over again. So eager to get out of that and join my family business, which was construction. So I have a lot of history and knowledge in the construction industry. That was my career until like early 20s. Pursued a career in the fire department, which led me to working in a refinery.
Oh my gosh.
For 3 years, making gasoline, and then got into advertising. And then advertising led me back to my passion of real estate, which I had already all the classes for. I just never took my license tests and saw an opportunity and went for it. So in doing so, it's brought me more opportunities than I could have imagined, taking me places that really scared me, but I pursued regardless, and couldn't be happier where I'm at now. It's really about chasing, how can I support my family, but also create the life I want and have the freedom I want. And
what was that point where you transitioned back into real estate?
Yeah, so I was in the refinery business, you can make insane money. I was working overtime. I was 22 years old and bringing home nearly $150,000. And the 150 grand a year, that was like without overtime. So it was a job that most people get into for life. And I realized that I was going to miss a lot of opportunity and time with my family. I wanted to have kids. I was already engaged to my wife at the time, and I knew that wasn't going to be for me. So I looked for something more 9 to 5 that fit exactly what my wife's schedule was, so we can coordinate better. That led me to taking pretty much slashing my income in half. But early 20s, you could kind of make that work. And I figured it out. Stayed in that industry for 5 years and got back to my income levels that I was at the refinery. And I was happy about that, but I wanted something bigger. I felt kind of capped in my
That was
position.
advertising.
In advertising, yeah. I was doing all the advertising for Lexus Automotive. So we shot their I was their car guy. I'm a car nerd. So we were on set for Super Bowl commercials, testing the handbrake so they could do donuts, on camera. So a lot of production stuff, all of their flyers, brochures for every dealership, digital banners, YouTube ads. I'm making sure the information they're putting out is correct. So dream job for a car guy. It's fun, but it feels like you're working at Google. It's very casual. There's, a beer keg in the office, and it's just, you come in when you want, you leave when you want is great. But, you kind of hit your level and like, there's nowhere to go from here.
Yeah.
So my brother-in-law and I started a real estate startup business, exploring a concept that we thought would be really good for people to save money and still buy houses, and develop this company. And he and I started with just offshore developers, but we created a pitchable product. That was our goal. Pitched it to a couple of venture capitalists, and we got onboarded by a venture capitalist. So we thought we were going to take down Zillow. We thought it was going to be this big wave. And the Department of Real Estate, 3 months before our launch, changed what you could do with MLS data. They changed the rulings on it and how you can push that out to the consumer. So we were dead after 3 years of work overnight. All of the marketing dollars, the venture capitalist was ready to launch and put in big money, and our business was just shut down kind of like from the start.
Oh my gosh.
So I had my real estate license. I had already moved to Northern California. I have a mortgage, 3 kids. Didn't even have a mortgage. I was renting at the time, and a real estate license that I've never used before.
Yeah.
And so I just called every real estate team locally and said, I need to make money.
Yep.
I have 2 months to go, 3 months to live off of. Tell me what to do. And
what year was this?
2020.
Okay. Oh, wow.
January.
Oh my gosh.
2020.
Right before.
Yeah. So I finally interviewed through, and my previous team leader said, hey, it's not going to be fun, but I have the tools to show you exactly what you need to do, and you'll make money. And if you do it, you'll be able to make money essentially in real estate for the rest of your life if you do it.
Yep.
Okay. This sounds promising. It sounds scary, but I'm going to do it. Signed up. that was Friday. The next Monday, I get the call, don't come into the office. We're completely shut down. We're not deemed necessary, and it's COVID, and so go home. So I'm like all hyped up to just sit at home and do nothing. He said, if you want to do something, start cold calling. So that's what I did and worked through that. Once we came back to the office, that's where things really kicked off. And I was using a triple line dialer, calling 3 people at a time, all canceled expireds because I wanted listings. And I did that for 2.5 years before I moved on from that team to go solo. And then I felt I was established enough to make that move successfully.
Well, it was a crazy time to get into real estate. And
Yes.
if you were, resilient and hard worker, you had a good opportunity from 2020 to take advantage of.
Huge opportunity. And then, it felt like, don't get me wrong, there was times, anybody who knows me during that time, I would come home crying. I would call my wife calling. I would cold call from 9 to noon, but 3 hours of straight cold calling thousands of people in a day. Just think of everything you say to cold callers that call you.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a fairly nice person, and I tell people to stop calling me. So,
right.
You get the grumpy ones, and you're feeling like
some of the things that they'll say.
Yeah, you feel like that.
Yeah.
So you going home questioning like what's going on until it works, and then it clicks. Part of that's self-improvement, it's skill-based. Part of it's just effort-based.
Right.
Part of it's just you're saying the right things, you're doing the right things. You just need to do it a little bit more.
I feel like anybody that's, growing or, entrepreneur or somebody that's in business feels that way at some point. Like, I felt that way, many times where I'm like, am I doing the right thing right now?
Right.
Like, do I, going home like, shit, like, is this the path that I want to be on? Should I be doing something different? And you just keep pushing forward. So
yeah. And then the social media aspect of it, you have a hard day like that and you open up Instagram and somebody's like, new listing.
Yeah.
Oh, and I closed this today.
Right.
And I got this. You're like, how am I even supposed to compete?
Well, but then you look at those situations, like you don't know what they were going through, right? It's all timing, right?
Yeah.
So it's just bad timing. You don't know what they had been going through for, that transaction or the last month.
Exactly.
It could have been.
Or it's not business. It's, their grandma needed to sell their house. It's not like something went out and earned, I'm comparing every ounce because I had no connections here. We moved here in 2019 of August. And by January of 2020, I was like no career.
Yeah.
So I think I knew 2 people who moved here, but it was just cold. But it was kind of nice too, because nobody knew me. So I could just be this blank face that just
start from scratch. Yeah.
But now once I moved on from the team, I kind of realized like, shoot, I don't always have to cold call like I was. I don't have to keep myself to that standard, kind of earn the right to move on to getting referral business and stuff like that. But naturally the market slows down or those people aren't ready to make a move, I always have something I can rely on that will bring in business. So you're never going to be just scraping bottom or like looking for a different career. It sucks, but you can always turn it on.
So you mainly started when you came here, started in residential, but you also mentioned that you've been working on the commercial side, working with investors. Tell us a little bit more about that.
During the height of COVID, there's a lot of industrial or large corporate investors in the residential space.
Yes.
So, the BlackRocks of the world and Invitation Homes and Zillow. And so a lot of the listings that I was finding off market, somebody's interested in selling, I could bring straight to one of those investors and sell for top dollar cash, close in 7 days or whenever my client needs to. And we don't even need to put it on the MLS. It's better for everybody. Everybody was happy. So my investor loved me, and because I was doing the hard work of sourcing these deals and bringing them right to them to purchase, I started building those relationships up. And noticed when the interest rates started ticking up, my kind of what I call my retail buyers, the people buying their single family home, they started really pulling back. But the investors never stop buying. They count on this business.
Yeah.
The bigger people, I'm actually happy that they left Sacramento. I don't think anybody wants corporate residential investors, but the smaller mom and pop families that rely on flipping homes and having rentals and things like that in the area are who I love to work with.
Yeah.
They rely on real estate to move forward and for deals to happen, to get things done. So I did the same thing, but downsized with the people I was working with, and it's taken off. I saw that, those people really, they needed business still. So I just applied the same concept, going out, finding the deals, bringing it to them. And the goal was to do bulk business together. So I could discount my services and still make enough on the purchase. They rehab it, and then I relist it in 3 months.
Right.
So it's the gift that keeps on giving. And in the middle of this flip, I'm helping them buy another one. So now you have these, and that's just one client. You know, you have 4 or 5 of those. Start overlapping this business, and it can keep you afloat while you're doing, you know, helping people buy either the luxury home or the first time home.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of those a month. Which that may pay some of the bills, but it won't pay everything.
Right.
Then, exploring into the commercial space. That was just kind of a passionate thing. I would just tell everybody yes. If they say, can you sell this? Can you sell that?
That's what you do. You know, you're starting in something, you're saying yes
exactly.
to everything.
Yeah,
right?
and I would tell them straightforward, I've never sold this before, but I know the person who has sold it, and they do a great job. And I'm going to bring the deal. I'm going to work with them to get it sold. And it's going to be the same experience for you. You're going to essentially get 2 agents for 1.
Yeah.
They love it. And then I'd bring it to a commercial partner. They'd kind of show me the ropes, how they're doing it. I would naturally see things I would do differently that work in residential that could apply.
You saw that commercial deals take longer than residential. Was that still the case in 2020? Was that it was still taking a little bit longer?
Yes and no. Depends what sector you're in.
Yeah.
So 2020 office space was dying off very quickly, and so people were kind of abandoning ship. But industrial space in 2020 was like the hottest thing in the world. If you had a little warehouse, you know, everybody wants to dive into creating their own business when you can't work for your employer. So these that sector really exploded. So it depends what sector you're in. That's what I love about commercial too. It's so different. So you really have to be. That's why most people, even in the commercial space, I'm a commercial office guy. I'm a commercial warehouse guy. I'm a leases only kind of person.
Right.
That's where I think it segments you to where you do become a specialist, but you just have complete tunnel vision by design. And I don't like that. I like applying some of the concepts for residential into the contracts for commercial and vice versa.
Right. What challenges are you seeing today and going into next year with sellers and buyers in all markets?
Yeah, right now buyers, at least I'm just going to talk purely from my experience of getting offers accepted.
Yeah.
Buyers have a lot of power in negotiations right now. There's limited inventory on the market, so a lot of the buyers are concentrating on these homes. So I'm seeing a lot of showings on my listings, but getting fewer offers. The offers we're having to do more negotiation on the seller side.
Yeah.
With the buyers, we're kind of throwing out what we want. We'll have to do a little negotiation, but we're getting more.
Yeah, it's crazy. The inventory is still so low.
It's still so low.
The
Yeah,
demand.
and interest rates play somewhat of a role in that because, you know, sellers need a place to go.
Yeah.
And when they're trapped in this, you know,
Yep.
in a great trap, you know, a 2.5% interest rate, they don't want to sell. Those are going to change over time. And we're going to see, I think, more movement as we go, especially into the spring market. Yeah. Interest rates are going to settle out. I don't think we're going to see any sharp drops, but they'll slowly trickle down. And the calmness of that, in my experience, having an interest rate settle into the market is almost better than sharp drops. It gets people accustomed to it, and you could plan out your life a little bit more, and people start making moves after it's settled in.
Yes.
Then the second it starts changing, everybody wants to hold again.
Yeah.
So
subtle little changes can open up a lot more people to the market. I mean, just the recent change, I think, opened up a whole influx of potential buyers.
Yeah, I think the floating quote around in the industry is 1% change will bring 5 million new buyers to the marketplace.
Oh my gosh.
1% change in the interest rate.
Yeah.
So, you know, pros and cons of waiting. There's one of my favorite is quote is not timing the market, but time in the market.
Yeah.
So you make the decision when it fits your life best, even if it seems a little expensive, and then the longer you own it, that's where you win.
Yes. Because you're as soon as you get that home, you're investing into your future.
Right.
So, you know, for your experience the last few years, why don't you share, you know, a memorable experience and maybe even a horror story that you had with a client or a transaction?
I have some big wins and some crazy horror stories. The stories are always fun. The huge win, I mean, I think a lot of agents can talk about the COVID times, you know, where you're just getting crazy over asking.
Right.
My latest big win is a lead that was brought to me by a team member of mine. He's just 21 years old, young kid, just crushing it, really putting himself into real estate and diving in. It's actually his lead, but we closed it together. This gentleman had just gotten out of prison in the past couple of years, no credit history, was working a good job, doing some manual labor, and was working on getting custody of his kids back. And it was like, what he wanted was kind of impossible. The specs of the home, he needed a garage just for the situation of his life. He looked around multiple different agents. A lot of them said they would help him, but they'd help him for a couple of days, send him a couple of properties and fizzle out. We were like, no, we're going to help you do this.
Yeah.
And found a property in Cameron Park. Didn't even think we could get him in that area. Small condo, 2-bed, 2-bath with a garage, needs a little bit of work, but he's handy enough. Got him in under his budget, and before we closed, he actually got custody of his kids.
Wow.
And then closed on the house. And it was
Perfect timing.
like made the shaking his hand after that just made the hair on the back of your neck just stand up.
Yeah.
And like, this is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
This, you can get somebody $150,000 over asking and celebrating, but
That's
that
the
was
true
like, this is
emotional
a change of life
moment.
moment. And
Yeah.
it was very impactful. So that was a huge win.
Yeah.
Losses. Oh man, I gotta go. I mean, how long can I go? Losses come and go. I think the biggest life lesson, the one that turned into the biggest story, is allowing a buyer to move in their belongings into a home before you close escrow. A real estate agent, you can only really, you kind of just go by what your client has asked you to do. I instructed them and I advised them, like, this is not a good idea. I don't think we should allow this. We were 3 or 4 days away from closing.
Oh my gosh.
They moved everything just into the garage, 4-car garage. They moved everything in there, not allowed to take possession of the home.
Yep.
And then 48 hours before closing, the buyer's husband filed for divorce.
No.
Completely imploded the entire deal. To coordinate now, their stuff's in the garage. The deal's completely exploded. We sent them a notice to perform to remove the items. You have 30 days to remove it. And the wife filed a restraining order against the husband. And we would not allow the wife to come on to the property because she's already trespassed on the property trying to get the stuff without our permission. So, my client's still living there. So she can't just come on the property. So she can come onto the property, open the garage.
They were still living. They were still living there, but the garage was filled with the buyer's
stuff.
Oh my gosh.
So their stuff was all on shipping trucks across the state, but they're still there.
Yeah.
So the buyer, anyway, she gets caught. She's not allowed on the property. The wife files a restraining order against the buyer's husband, and we had to have Placer Sheriff. We've had him out there trying to move the stuff out of the garage. We gave the husband permission. You can move it. Every single time he shows up, she stands in the middle of the street. He's not allowed to be
with a restraining order
within 100 yards
oh my gosh.
of him. So Placer Sheriff comes out and kicks the husband out. So he has to park a half mile down the street. And so, took another 48 hours of Placer County Sheriff coming out to the property 5 or 6 times. All of those times, we have a crew of 10 to 15 guys, movers, ready to unload the entire truck. And they all just get sent home, because the wife keeps showing up.
Just to make things difficult.
Finally, with three or four lawyers involved, and then the rule was I had to be there as kind of the mediator. My clients were out of state on this weekend.
Yeah.
So I had to sit there for 7.5 hours while they moved all of the stuff into loading trucks, making sure the wife stayed 100 yards away, or else the sheriff would have to shut it down.
Oh my God.
So that's the worst one. Sorry, long-winded, but
so advice is just, no matter the situation, just don't do it.
Trust your gut, and just don't. Nothing's real until it's real. Just don't
until it's finalized.
Don't spend the money that you're going to make on your commission check. That's like an agent tip before you have it. Don't let buyers move in until they own the home. So
Oh my gosh.
Those are probably the life lessons.
Oh, that's crazy. So what are some qualities that you think are the most important for real estate agents to have? And what are some key factors that you think have attributed to your personal growth over the last few years?
I would think for agents is definitely adaptability and determination. I mean, for me, in my situation, at the time, I felt like it was completely unfair, and life was just throwing me a huge curveball that this real estate idea that I thought was going to be so huge was just shut down so quickly. But I had to adapt and find something. But also, it kind of like burned all the bridges. It's like burn all the ships once you arrive, kind of thing. I had nothing to fall back on, so I didn't have a choice but to be determined.
Back up against the wall.
Unless I wanted to go do something that I was no longer passionate about doing.
Yeah.
I've done so many other jobs. I knew what I wanted to do. But then adaptability, I mean, if you can't adapt to what's going on around you and you're just sticking to your guns, then I think you'll fail too.
Especially in the real estate industry.
Especially,
things are always changing.
And just with client interaction, like you have to be a chameleon.
Right.
If somebody's really reserved and serious, like you almost have to take that demeanor on.
Yes.
If you come in, they're all boisterous, they're probably going to hate you.
Yeah.
So it's like you almost have to be really adaptable, but also to the situation. I mean, I have people, close agent friends that are like, man, I'm doing all this marketing. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I haven't gotten one lead from it. I'm like, then stop. They're like, but then what am I going to do? I'm like, anything but that. That's not working and it's wasting your money. So figure it out. And the sooner you figure it out and change,
right.
The
and
change,
then stick
the
to
change
what
will
works.
feel good. Yeah. Even though it hasn't produced more leads, the change will feel like you're making leaps and bounds in your life. So just follow that.
Yeah.
But you got to also be determined. It's kind of saying two different, the opposites. A lot of agents can be adaptable and they're too adaptable to become an agent and then get right out of it.
Yeah. Well, segueing it from that, in terms of, what can you do to make, to grow your business and make things work? How has social media, marketing, video, photo, high quality media, how has that played into your business? In the past and then also going into the future?
If I wasn't in real estate, I probably wouldn't have social media and I would be way less relevant just in my friend circles. The relevancy factor for me is why I stick to it. Yeah. It has gotten me significant business over the years just because it's just there. It's constant. People don't need my phone number to get in contact with me if they're on social media. I like that aspect of it. I could do a lot better with it. But for my business, I mean, media and photos and video is just priceless. It's what the client sees the first time, and the first time they see it is usually online, and they usually find the home they end up purchasing right then and there. And like so that you have one shot to make an impression to get them to click it. So, making the home stand out and highlight the special aspects. So, if you can have a really clean photo, but if you have 20 listings in a row, all with really clean photos, they almost look similar. So highlighting the uniqueness of the home is really important. But
things like things that me and John say is, do things that, might change the perspective on some of these home buying sites, like do virtual twilight or add on twilight photography things, for special properties that, it's like, okay, if it's in a competitive market, and you have something that's going to stand out as a really nice cover thumbnail, little things like that can make an impact.
Huge impact.
Yeah.
And I love the clients that are a little more open to that. There's some clients, sometimes you just have to do what your client wants. Right. They're like, I want the dead on straight front photo. I've worked so hard on that garden. They want it there. You're going to do that. Yeah. But when they give you some creative flexibility, which I'm sure you love too, is when you're like, no, the goal is to have them click on it. They don't want to buy it just from one photo. You got to get them to click and be like, what is this?
Right.
So then the second photo could be that. But if you have it from a slightly different angle where it's not going to blend in with all the other listings and they're good with that, it shows. Yep. It shows in the activity. You can prove that with data. And I like that. Yep. Funny enough, thinking back, the home that you shot for me for our mutual client, we sold that off market for over asking what we thought. We were planning to go on for 1.2 and we sold it for 1.5 off market.
Oh, that's awesome.
Based on the videos and the photos that you shot.
Yeah.
So we didn't even have to put a sign in the yard. We still signed paperwork, but besides that, we went straight into contract, and that allowed my client to purchase the home he's now in. Yep. Which was also one of my listings by chance. So that was $3 million of volume in real estate off of photos that happened in a matter of 8 hours versus 60 days on market.
Right. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, you sold it in 8 hours?
Well, after you took the photos, we sent it out to those clients. They toured it the next day, and then the day after that we were in contract.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
You know, we thought it was contingent, and we were only selling so much he could purchase another
Right.
home.
Yes.
So the timing is really crucial on that, and it was a perfect buyer, perfect seller, right timing. But without getting them, what gets them out to the home is the photos.
Yep.
You know, I would tell my clients the important thing about selling your home is getting buyers to cross the threshold of your front door.
Yep.
The more people that do that, the faster you'll sell.
Yep.
So
Just get 'em
photos
there.
allow me to do that.
That was in El Dorado County. I think I saw recently that, are you the leader of one of the Facebook groups for El Dorado County?
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting story, but yeah, I just kind of saw the power of Facebook groups, especially in our area. There's so many people on them, and the community aspect of it was, I was getting a lot of deals sold through other local real estate community groups. And I'm like, I should start my own. This is kind of my hometown area. I saw another El Dorado County page that was just a chat page, but there's a lot of real estate on there. I was like, if I could kind of pull the real estate off of that and make my own, and that's kind of taken off in its own kind of path. There's vendors, escrow people, agents, obviously, but painters, handyman, junk hauling people, anything.
Yeah, being able to connect people.
Right,
I mean, if you can provide somebody with something that they need, I mean, they're going to want to reciprocate something in some way, right?
Right, right.
And so
it's funny. I needed some plants removed from my front yard that I thought I could do it myself, but I definitely couldn't. Got myself into a bind, and I was like, where did I see this guy's contact? Sure enough, it was on my own page that I started, his post that I was like, oh, I wanted to use this guy, and called him up, and he was there next day. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
It worked. Yeah. I don't really feel like I could take credit for it. I just started the page and it took off.
How many members does it have now? Do you know?
1,500.
That's pretty good.
1,500 members.
Yeah.
We started it in October of last year, October.
Oh, wow.
23.
Yeah, so
it's almost 1 year
good.
old.
And you said you've gotten a few deals from that group? Oh,
Yeah.
Great.
So I've gotten quite a few deals, a lot of referrals.
Yeah.
And then, I'm not trying to hurt anybody by using it as a tool for myself, but that's kind of why I did it.
Yeah.
When I have listings, especially in the county, I can push them on that platform.
Yep.
And use it as a benefit to my clients. It helps me too, but it's really to my clients and to the other agents in the area.
Yeah. Because if you can connect a buyer or seller, then
Yeah. And
benefits
the
them
agents
too.
in our community are all really close knit, and they're such good people. So I love, the more we can help each other, it's like the better we all grow. And I love that aspect.
Yeah,
of it.
Facebook I've seen that it's pretty crazy how many deals happen from it, where an agent goes and posts, I have this 4-bed, 3-bath, this price range, this city, and then it'll get 5-6 comments saying,
DM.
this is like I have a client, and then
I have a buyer.
I'm sure that those deals get connected.
Exactly. And then showing that, at least for me, when, sitting down to a listing appointment and somebody's like, what makes you different? Well, perfect. Let me show you. I don't have to tell you, I have a black signpost, my signs are modern looking, you're not pitching, your print media. I'm saying, well, this is how we get deals done. Here's an example of us pushing it out on our own owned Facebook site that has this many people, this many visitors. And then, we take your listing and we pre-market it. The second we have paperwork signed, we are marketing that thing as if it was on the market already.
Yep. There's
There's methods to pre-marketing versus just straight marketing. You don't give too much away,
right.
But the way that we pre-market homes gets us listings. And so by the time we even talk about the actual marketing of, hey, we put these flyers together as our open house, they're already kind of sold.
That's awesome.
So but the power of Facebook, without that, social media in general.
In general, yes.
Facebook
because all platforms have their different mediums. Like Facebook, I would say, is more for groups and for getting people connected like that, and then social media, if you're creating social media reels for your
like exposure.
For your home and branding. Getting you on camera like we did.
That's what I need to do more of that stuff. Especially on the Instagram side.
It's not always the easiest, but it just takes time.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about your family. I know you said that you've been working on fixing up a Land Cruiser.
Yeah, I'm a car guy at heart. So I've had like 17 cars in the past 6 years. I kind of
Oh my gosh.
That's like as a project.
Yeah.
I
Walk
buy it
us
up,
through some of
fix
them.
it.
I want to hear some of them.
I loved old European sedans, like,
Okay.
early 70s BMWs and Mercedes. I love like wagons and all-wheel drive. I love vintage 4x4s. So I've had old,
Oh, cool.
Isuzu Troopers and like cool cars that you don't usually see. I've had like
Bronco.
73. Yeah, I couldn't afford the Broncos, but luckily I found the Land Cruiser that I have now
Yeah.
for $3,500. It's pretty much
Nice.
all no rust free, all original. Had no seats, no, it wasn't working. So I get it all. It's all ready for paint now. It's
It's almost there.
4 or 5 years. Yeah, so it's getting there. It's
Yeah.
a slow build, but
Yeah.
but yeah, got 4 kids. People tend to be shocked by that a lot of times, but it feels, I was exactly what I wanted as I wanted to be a younger dad, and
So lots of sports.
lots of soccer, lots of sports, a lot of drop off, and we just homeschool all of our kids too. So it's
Okay. Yeah.
that is a blessing. There's a lot of pros and cons.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. I'm sure.
yeah, it's a lot of freedom,
A lot of driving.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
a
we're
lot.
often doing like family vacations from like a Tuesday to Thursday.
Yeah.
So I can
Not
make it back from my
typical.
open
Yep.
house on Saturday, and then take off like Monday as a Saturday. So schedule's a little wonky.
Right.
Yeah. Do a lot of home projects on my own. So my kitchen's being remodeled now, which makes for a lot of late nights and YouTube
Yeah.
University. How do I run this
a lot of
plumbing
takeouts
line?
probably.
Yep. Exactly.
4 kids, like no cooking.
Yeah. A lot of takeout, a lot of paper plates,
Yeah.
plastic utensils. Yeah.
So going into 2025, what are your goals in your real estate career?
It's definitely tackling some of these larger projects that are more, some of them involve residential real estate, but are larger, what would deem more commercial side transactions. So one of those is we have a multifamily portfolio coming up of 5 different properties that are all either 4plexes, 5plexes, or a duplexes, kind of across Northern California. So we're handling that. There's a lot of moving parts with it. There's a trust involved, the CPA, an attorney. So there's a lot of loose ends that need to be tied together just to sell the property. And so coordinating that and orchestrating that is something I'm proud of how we're handling it. I don't know if a lot of other people in my position would be willing to go to the extent that we have, and I like that. I want to kind of make that my brand. But then we have another development project that I'm getting heavily involved in going up in El Dorado Hills, and that's going to be the first kind of development project that I'll be a part of and representing from a commercial side, a non-residential side. So, and then I have a couple buyers in the pipeline that are looking to buy significant commercial properties. And so
Awesome.
my goal is to kind of in a broad scheme, handle these larger commercial properties and really put my name and brand on the map in that space. I've proven that I can do some of the smaller ones, but I really want to handle some of these larger ones, and they're already in the works. So I'm excited to see those close.
I think I saw recently something. Is Costco going in El Dorado Hills? Is that actually
supposedly they own the land?
Okay.
Yeah, they own the land, but
it's very interesting. I'm sure that I don't know if you've talked
like
to people
2 or 3
whatever,
exits away.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people think that it should have gone up the hill a little bit higher in El Dorado
Yeah.
County. Placerville would have
I
been.
agree with that. They know something we don't.
Yeah.
And the Folsom one's overrun. So
Right,
I wouldn't
yeah, I
mind
mean, it's-
avoiding Bidwell. So it'll be interesting, but I know that community. I live just behind that area. So
Which area is it? I don't. It's off
it's off
Latrobe,
Silva Valley.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's actually going to be it's off the Silva Valley side, which is the north side of the 50.
Okay.
So, but El Dorado Hills, I mean, they were planning to put an Amazon distribution center
That's
down
right.
Latrobe as
And
well.
that
And the
never-
community came together and shut it down.
Yeah.
So I don't think anything's really set in stone
yeah.
right now. But
Yeah.
it's a community. The community is really tight knit.
Yeah.
So if when they want
So
something,
it just gets voted on, and they can veto
and
it
they
happening?
they shut it down.
Wow.
Yeah, the community pushed back enough that the representatives, for the city and the town essentially pushed back on Amazon.
Wow.
And it was kind of one of those success stories. So
Yeah.
now people are talking about Costco coming in. The community's still, this was only last year, so they're still
Right.
motivated to create the town they
What
want.
do you think? Like, what do you think about both of those? Like, do you think that it's a good thing, bad thing?
I think the city needs it.
Yeah.
I think there's too many people here for one Costco.
Yeah.
That one's insane. But a little bit of growth outside of just along the 50, I think would be nice. Like spread us out a little bit.
Yeah.
I think there's opposing views on development. I don't want everything to be developed. I grew up in the suburbs of Los Angeles, and moving here was a breath of fresh air because there's actually trees, like instead of there's like one mature tree on a street in that area, and it's like, oh my God, it's concrete jungle.
Surviving still.
Like how's it get water? It doesn't make sense. So I love it here. I hope it kind of stays where it's at, even though
they're building so much.
I know that newer agents coming on the scene that are just doing new homes.
Yeah.
They don't represent a new home builder. All they do is tour around, and they're killer at content, killer at media.
Yep.
They just hit new home tours. I mean,
Brandon Butler.
Yeah, Brandon Butler.
He's focused a lot on
killer at that. Yeah, and he's a great guy. He's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, he's super nice.
He's so good at doing it.
Yeah.
He's just consistent, and he's real, and he has his brand, and he crushes it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there. I mean, they're building so much in Folsom, Eldred Hills, Rancho. We want to end up living in Rancho.
Yeah.
And there's, they were saying that 12,000 new homes are going to be built in Rancho, which is even more than Folsom Ranch. It's just crazy.
Insane. Right. Yeah. So, keeping an eye on properties in that area. And then also, if I'm going to be looking at the residential or the commercial developments that'll go in, you need a certain amount of homes. I think it's 150,000 developed occupied homes in an area to start building the commercial spaces.
Okay.
So it's a numbers thing. That's why you always see the homes go first, and then the gas stations and the infill lots become grocery stores and plazas.
Well, Folsom Ranch had to have a certain number of, like, they had to put in a school, right?
Right.
Some of those commercial spaces.
Right.
So
yeah, you definitely need a school if you're going to build all those houses.
Yeah.
That's important.
All right.
Yeah. The gas station comes next. Yeah. It's a lot of opportunity out there in this area. I guess one could say it's kind of sad to see, and the other one could be like, it's great.
Yeah.
We need
I feel like there's going to be a good opportunity for the next few years for real estate with that. I mean, then needs to build all these new homes with all the potential buyers on the sidelines. So.
Yes, exactly. They'll buy them.
So what I've been asking people on the podcast, so we're on the Visionary Mindset podcast. There's a few things that describe a visionary, and a few of those are resilient, optimistic, creative, risk takers, inspirational. What of those few would you say most describe you, and why? I'm
hearing my wife in the back of my head, but I'm optimistic to a fault. Too optimistic. Like the house could be burning down around me, and I'm like, "This is fine.
It'll be fine."
We'll build it. Which I think helps me in a lot of ways, but also, sometimes you need to be more of a realist.
Yeah.
But then the resilience factor, I think, kind of supports the stupid optimism, because I know I'll be fine. I know.
Figure it out.
Yeah, I know if shit really hits the fan, excuse my language, then I'm going to cold call and I'll support my family. If I need to, I will call 1,000 people in 4 hours. I can do that. I've done it before. I can host 6 open houses in a weekend. It's crazy, but man, that next Monday, you're walking away with business, almost guaranteed, if you do them right. So I feel, like those two really describe me the most. The other ones all play a role too, but the optimism first, manifesting a lot of what I have in my life. I've manifested when I wanted it. It was 10 years ago, and now it's like, now I'm here, and what I'm manifesting is already in the future, and it doesn't happen exactly the way that you think it will, and
you don't realize it sometimes that until after a few years. You're like, oh wow, I actually dreamed of this.
Yeah, right.
That's how I feel about this.
That's
this studio is like,
about
6-7 years ago, I was like, oh man, it would be so cool to have something like this. And then, you get it and you're like, wow, that took a lot of work, and you didn't,
you're like, how
didn't
did this
realize.
happen? Yeah. Same thing with like almost everything in my life. Like I took 500 different turns, and this was in the back of my head of that would be amazing to get. And I somehow got there.
Yeah.
It's worked so far.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The true win in life is probably your family though. So.
That's the true win. Meeting my wife and her, the way that we just kind of clicked and feel the same about wanting kids and having the life that we have now. And it's hectic. People look at my life and they're like, I have no idea how you do it, but
I feel like that's a lot of
like,
a lot of families. It's a lot,
Yeah.
a lot of people that have kids and running a business and crazy schedules and
Yeah.
things. It's like, I admire you guys for doing that because sometimes I'm like, I don't know how I have time, and then you guys have 4 kids in the mix. So it's impressive.
Yeah. Your head's spinning constantly. You get used to it.
Yeah. You just take it day by day.
Same thing.
Just
and then,
day.
you get, I'll walk into a client's house to like list it and there's like a couple things out of place. And they're like, oh my God, it's such a mess here. And I'm like,
you're like,
I go into fixer houses with the roof caving in. I come home, there's 1,000 kids' toys and kids running around and clothes everywhere. And
it's built up patience and
it's just, some days the house is spotless and it's great.
Yeah.
And then 20 minutes later, it's not.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So tell the audience where they can find you online, your Facebook group, what the name of that is for anybody that's local in the area that wants to join.
Yeah, if you're on Facebook locally, I mean, anybody's welcome. It's El Dorado County Real Estate. That's our Facebook group. You can find me at the McKinney Group on Instagram and on Facebook, or my personal pages, Corey McKinney or Corey MCK is a lot of my ats on stuff. So anywhere.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Cool.
Appreciate
no worries. Thank you
on
for
the
having
podcast.
me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's been fun.